Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us in our Ielts webinar. Today, we are going to discuss some important aspects of the Ielts test. My name is Natalie Gomez. I am the Director of Studies at Goal English Coaching, and we have been training students for Ielts for 14 years, all very successful students. And we hope that some of the tips that we will give you today will help you decide if you want to take the IELTS, what is the IELTS that you want to take, and different tips for solving some kind of questions or to knowing what areas you need to work more. If you have any questions during the webinar, you can ask them in our chat, and we will try to answer all the questions that you have. I hope this is very useful for all of you. Okay, so we are going to start with the general aspects of IELTS. IELTS is an international exams that is one of the most popular exams around the world. It's recognized in universities in United States, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and even for different programs in other countries, they also request IELTS. Depending on the requirements that they have, you will have to decide if you want to do the academic IELTS or the general module. But I am going to go into more detail in a minute. Okay, so we have two modules for IELTS. The general module is normally the one that we use when we are applying for immigration status or when we want to go and live in another country. Some universities, for example, here in Colombia, accept either the general or academic IELTS. Sometimes they have different scores. They require different scores depending on the module that you take. And but for undergraduate studies, some universities accept the general module. For specializations, postgraduate studies, masters, MBAs, normally the universities require the academic IELTS. The academic IELTS has some differences that we will discuss on the webinar. And it requires a higher level of academic vocabulary, as its name explains, is the academic model. Depending on your objective, there are different bands for the IELTS. So some universities here in Colombia, for example, for undergraduate studies, they request between level B1 and level B2, depending on the career or the year that you started your studies. So you can see here what is the score that you need to be aiming to. For example, for score B1, you need probably 4.5 or 5. This is the general requirement from the universities. And for band B2, the request is normally 5.5, 6, or 6.5. Different universities have different requirements, and it's important that you check with the university to know specifically what is the score that you need. Okay. So now we are going to go into detail into the different question types for the different sections of the IELTS. The first section that you are going to find in the IELTS is the listening section. The listening section has a general and academic model. Is exactly the same. We have 40 questions and we have 30 minutes for these questions. Normally, the questions increase the level of difficulty. There are 4 sections, and they will start increasing the level of difficulty in the different sections. At the end of the test, you will be able to transfer your answers from to the answer sheet, so you can take notes on the paper. After each section, you have about 2 minutes to transfer some of the answers. So the idea is that you take a lot of notes during the test. You will have time to see the questions before the audio starts, predict some of the answers, and it will help you when you're taking notes. So we have 4 sections in the listening test. The first recording is a conversation between 2 people in an everyday social context. Normally, one person is registering for a gym or a library, or maybe trying to rent a car. So in this section, you're going to see a lot of questions that are related with spelling, writing numbers, and different kinds of questions that require personal information. So it's very important that your spelling skills are really good, because you will need exact spelling. And this is the section number 1. Section number 2, as I told you, it increases the level of difficulty, is a monologue set in an everyday social context. Normally is one person maybe welcoming students to a university, or sometimes giving a speech, but it's a very social context, so the vocabulary is not complex. And you will have to complete different types of questions according to the recording. In section number 3, now you will see that we start getting into more academic environment. There will be a conversation between, it could be 2 or up to 4 people, and this conversation will be in an educational context. So the vocabulary here is going to be more complex, so it's important that we train in this kind of vocabulary. And you will have to answer questions not based on any specific vocabulary of an academic context. It is academic, but you don't have to be an expert in astronomy or agronomy, or no. The vocabulary is general, yes, but the topic will be academic. So it's important that you get some training in this area. In section 4, you will see a monologue on an academic subject. Yes, so this is normally a university lecture, so it's very important that that you are trained in these kind of lectures. Normally, we get tired because it's a long lecture with a lot of information, so we need to practice these kind of recordings, so we can get as many details as possible. Questions in the Ielts are a lot about details, so it's important that you train yourself on taking notes and writing those details. So here we have the different question types that we will find in the listening section. The first question type is multiple choice. In the multiple choice questions, you will see that we have just regular multiple choice, 1 question, 4 possible answers. Ielts doesn't use the exact words in the questions that the ones you will hear in the recording. Sometimes we are expecting to hear, for example, reduce their productivity. They will not say the exact words. They use a lot of synonyms. So we need to expand our vocabulary so we can understand synonyms in context. You need to understand the complete conversation. It's not about just getting the right word. We need to understand the conversation in order to be able to answer multiple choice questions. When the answer is too easy or is exactly something that they say, then maybe this is a bad indicator. This is probably not the right answer. Ielts is not that easy. Okay, the next question type is matching. So, for example, in the third recording where we will have different people discussing a topic, it's possible that they say what did each person say about each individual topic. So, for example, here in this example, we have Karen, Jason, and the tutor. And so what does each person say? So we have to match the information. If you take notes, Even if you don't get the answer in that moment, at the end of the recording, as I told you, you will have some time to check your answers. And in this time with your notes, you will be able to infer what is the correct answer. Okay, another question in the listening section is the labeling a diagram or a map. So in this case, it's very important, first of all, to look what is the order of the questions. The recording will always be in the order of the questions. So you see that we start here with number 11. We see number 11, number 12, number 13, number 14, 15. This is the first exercise we have to do when we get a map. The other exercise that we have to do is understand where is the north. So normally we have like a map. So we need to know where is the north, where is the south, yes? Because some of the instructions will tell us, okay, this is north to the library office, or this is to the right, to the left. For some people, this is very easy. For some other people, it's more difficult to understand this kind of instructions. So it's important that before the recording starts, we have clear where is the north, where is the south, where is the east, where is the west, where is the right, where is the left, because this will be given in the instructions. Our next question type is a flowchart. So normally this flowchart we will have to complete with no more than 3 words or a number. Normally flowcharts go in order. We will start here number 20, 21, 22, but it's important that we check where are the numbers. As I told you, the recording will start in the order of the numbers, not in the order you see them in the map. In the flowchart is usually more organized. Okay, and we have a sentence completion. So in sentence completion, normally the instructions say, write no more than 2 words for each answer. So we have to check that the word or words that we write in our answer are grammatically correct. Although the Ielts doesn't have any specific grammar questions, it requires that you have a good knowledge of grammar. So you have to be able to predict before the recording starts if you need a noun, an adjective, an adverb, because if the word doesn't fit grammatically, the answer will be wrong. Yes, there is no half right answer or half wrong answer. The answers in the Ielts is just one correct answer, and that's it. So it's very important that you familiarize yourself with the different parts of the speech and that you have some idea of what part of the speech will be in each of the answers. Okay, and another question type for the listening section is short answer questions. So in these short answer questions, we are going to focus what is the question. Yes, what is the WH question? This is key, so we give the right answer. In this case, we also complete the answer with no more than 3 words or a number. So make sure that the word that you put in the answer is the correct answer to that question word. For example, how often, how much, where, when. Sometimes because we hear the answer in a context that includes other words, we add other words. If you put too many words, that's also a wrong answer. So make sure that you are following the question words and you are answering just the precise, exact information that they are asking. Okay, so now we move on to the reading section. So the reading section is actually different for the general and academic model. It takes 60 minutes is the total time that you have, and it has 40 questions. But for the general model, we are going to find extracts from books, magazines, newspapers, advertisements. It's more books or magazines that we find in our everyday life, right? In the academic model, we see that these books or that these readings are from academic books, maybe journals from specific subjects. So if you decide to take the academic model, it's important that you focus on academic vocabulary because the questions are going to be targeted to this type of vocabulary. Okay, the question types in the reading and listening questions are very similar. Some of them are similar and some others are a little bit different. So we're going to focus on the ones that are different. Okay, so the first question type that we will have is true, false, and not given. This is one of the most difficult questions for IELTS, people that are preparing for the IELTS, because sometimes we get confused when we say false and not given, right? It's completely different. False is when the information that you find, the information that you have in the text contradicts the statement that we have in the question, yes? And not given is when the information does not appear in the text. Yes, the information is not there. So you have to be very careful. It's very commonly confused for students, false and not given. You have to do a lot of practice exercise. And when you find a true or false statement, you have to look that in the reading, there is actually a sentence that tells you this is the opposite, or this is not, or this is true. Okay, another question type is when we are identifying the writer's views or the writer's claims. So this is different, and some students get confused. True, false, and not given is not the same as yes, no, and not given. When they ask you a question with yes, no, and not given, they are asking for the writer's view or the writer's opinion. Yes, the statement agrees with the claims of the writer. No, the statement contradicts the claims of the writer. Or not given, it is impossible to say what the writer thinks about this. Some students say, okay, yes, it's the same as true. So in the answer sheet, they write true. That's not good. If the question requires yes, no, it's yes, no. If it's true, false, it's true, false. So you will need some preparation to identify what keywords give us an idea of the writer's opinion. What are the keywords that we need to look for? The next question type is a list of headings. So we have different headings. As you see, we have in this case 9 different headings, and we have five paragraphs. Always there will be more headings than paragraphs, and because the topic is very similar, the headings will be similar as well. There will be small differences, and you will have to be careful with that. You will have to give one heading for section A, section B, section C, section D. So find specific keywords that identify with the heading, yes? Be careful with negative sentences, right? Sometimes the paragraph or the heading has a negative sentence that completely changes the meaning of the sentence, yes? Or for example, we also have absolutely, the author absolutely agrees, disagrees. Anything that is absolute terms, always, never. Be careful with those words, because that can be a trick they use there in the IELTS to make you choose the wrong answer. Okay, So the same as in the listening section, we will have multiple choice, sentence completion, summary or flowchart completion, and short answer questions. So these ones basically follow the same ideas of the listening section. So now we will get into the writing section. The writing section of the IELTS takes 60 minutes. 20 minutes for task 1 and 40 minutes for task 2. And it's important that you manage your time. They give you 1 hour to do both tasks. Task 2 has a higher percentage of the score, so it's important that you dedicate more time to this task, and it requires you have to write 250 words, so it's important that you allow yourself more time to complete this task. So in this case, for the general and academic module, we have different task 1. Task 2 is the same for both models of the IELTS, but task 1 is different. In the general module, in task 1, we will have to write a letter. Normally is a formal letter, but they have different situations. They will give you a situation and you will have to write a letter. You will have to identify what is the style of the letter. If they ask you to write a letter to a friend, then you will see that you need a more informal style. If they ask you to write a letter of complaint to an airline, you will have to use more formal language, and you will have to learn specific vocabulary that you would use in these kind of situations. For the academic task 1, you will have to describe either a graph or a chart. You can have a line graph, you can have a table, you may have to describe a process or a flow chart, or you will have to describe a map. There are different tips that we will explain in other webinars about how to answer these different types of questions. But the most important is that we understand that this task is the description of the process or the description of the graph. They are not asking us for our personal opinion. If you include your personal opinion in this task, you will be giving a wrong answer. So be careful not to give your personal opinion, not to analyze graphs too much, not to indicate that sales in the last period of the year dropped because people didn't have a lot of money. That's not something that the graph is telling us. So it's just the description of the graph. There are different kinds of vocabulary to answer each type of graph that you should study. So you can show in your writing that you have a wide range of vocabulary and wide range of grammar as well. So for task 2, as I said before, the task is the same for the academic and general model. You will have to write an essay in response to a point of view, an argument, or a problem. So you should be able to identify what is your position and support your position with explanations and examples. It's very important that you understand that writing in English and Spanish is completely different. Spanish, when we write in Spanish, we use a lot of embellishments and things that make our writing beautiful. In English, it's very important that it's clear, it's concise, and it's direct. We don't need empty phrases that don't mean anything, that just make it pretty. That's not English style of writing. English is very concrete and very direct. You should be able to show a good level of grammar and vocabulary to get a good score in this part of the test. And the IELTS structure, or in English, generally, the essays have a very specific structure. So it's very important that before you start practicing writing, you review what is this structure. So you learn the proper structure of the essay. Okay, now moving to the speaking section. One of the reasons many people choose the IELTS exam is because the speaking section is a real interview. So the interview normally lasts between 11 and 14 minutes. And the first part of the interview is just questions about you, things about family, maybe the place where you live, simple questions that you should be able to answer. Don't give monosyllable answers. Try to expand on your answers. Try to show the vocabulary that you know so you can get higher scores without learning, like memorizing sentences that you think you will be able to say in the interview. It's important that you acquire a good level of vocabulary so you can show that on your interview in a natural way, not memorized robotic way. So that's part one, that it takes about from 4 to 5 minutes. Part two, you will receive a cue card that is similar to the one we see here. And they will give you a topic and some bullet points. For this task, normally they call this task the long term, and is because you will have to give a speech for about 2 minutes based on this cue card that they gave you. They will give you a topic and you have to make sure that in the first 2 minutes you cover all the bullet points. It's not important that you do it in order. You can do it in any order you want. If you see that there are questions that have shorter, simpler answers, you can say them at the beginning, and then you can leave the ones that you think will need like a longer explanation towards the end. It's possible that the examiner will interrupt your speech, telling you that that's enough. That doesn't mean that you did well or did bad. That means that the time is over. And hopefully when the examiner says that, you have covered all your bullet points. Part three is a follow-up on the topic that you described on your cue card. So they will ask you follow-up questions, and it's important that you are prepared to answer with you don't need like a speech. You don't need to make a whole speech again, but you need to be able to elaborate on your answers and expand on your answers. Okay, so now we are going to look at an exercise. We are going to look at a reading practice exercise. So it's important that I think so we can all participate. We are going to look at this page. I will send you the link on the chat. So here is the chat. If you open this in your browser, we will be able to play some games, and for the winner, we have a special prize. So if you open that link, we will have here the questions to start participating. Okay, it will require a PIN number. I will write the PIN number here in the chat. It's 279675. Okay, so you can put the PIN number and your name so you can start participating. We will have some reading comprehension questions. Okay, so while you guys start joining, I am going to give you some what is the background of what is the exercise that we are going to do. So the first thing, as I told you, the questions of true, false, and not given are a little bit difficult because sometimes it's difficult to identify if the information is on the text or not. So we are going to look at this text number 1. The roots of the modern welfare system in the United Kingdom can be traced to 1911, when the Prime Minister of the day, David Lloyd George, suggested that people should pay national insurance every week when they are fit and working in order to enjoy benefits when they are sick and unemployed. It wasn't until 1948, however, that this ideal was put into practice. Of course, there had been some system of aid for the poorer members of society, either from charities or from local authorities, for a long time. Now, though, universal health care and unemployment benefit became a right for every citizen for the first time. So based on this text, we are going to have some questions, and I want you to tell me if these questions are on the text or not. Is this information on the text or not? So we are ready to begin. Okay, start. Okay, so here is the first question. It took 37 years for the idea of a welfare system to become a reality. Is this information in the text? Yes or no? Okay, yes is in the text. So let's look closer to the text. Okay, let's look closer here to the text. And we see here that we have two dates. We have 1911 and we have it wasn't until 1948. So in 1911, the Prime Minister started with this idea, but it wasn't until 1948 when this was put into practice. So you see the information is not exactly as we have it in the question. We will have to understand the context in order to get the right answer. Okay, so let's look at the next question. People didn't like David Lloyd George's suggestion at first. Is this information in the text or not? They didn't like his suggestion at first. Okay, so it's not in the text. Yes, as we can see in the text, it took 37 years. They say that in 1911, the Prime Minister proposed this, but there is no indication that they didn't like his suggestion. It's not in the text. It took 37 years. Why? We don't know, but it was not because they didn't like the idea. Okay, let's go with the next question. Unemployment increased because of the welfare system. Is this information in the text? Yes or no? Okay. No, it's not in the text. They speak about unemployment. They speak about unemployment, but it's not in the text that after this was put in practice, unemployment increased. It says this was supposed to benefit the workers when they were sick and unemployed, but there is no reference that unemployment increased. There is no the word increase or any synonym of this word. Okay. Okay, next question. Charities were given money by local authorities. Charities were given money by local authorities. Is this in the text or no? Okay, this is not in the text. Very good. Okay, so if we see here, they mention charities and they mention local authorities. Yes, and so we have here, let's charities, we have local authorities, but it doesn't say that they were given money from local authorities. They say that the poorer members of society receive money either from, from charities, one option, or from local authorities. That was the other option. Okay, that's very good. Let's look at the next question. Okay, the next question. Local authorities helped poor people. Is this on the text? Yes or no? Okay, very good. Yes, it's in the text. And this is in the same section that we were just checking. So we say that poorer members of society that we can associate with poor people, poorer members of society, received money either from charities or local authorities. Yes? Okay, let's look at the next question. Okay, in the next question, we can see nobody had to pay for the welfare system. Is this in the text? Yes or no? Nobody had to pay for the welfare system. Okay, so the answer is false. Because here in the text, we can see the answer is false because here in the text, we can see that the idea from David Lloyd was that people should pay national insurance every week. Yes, people should pay national insurance every week, so people were paying for the welfare system. Okay, next question. Okay, our next question. The welfare system provided health care. Is in the text or it isn't in the text? The welfare system provided health care. Okay, it is in the text. Yes. Okay, so let's see where exactly in the text. So we have benefits when they were sick and unemployed. Yes. So when people are sick, The idea is that they provide health care. Yes, this is what they provide for sick people. That's what sick people need when they are working and they are sick, they need health care. Okay, so let's look at the next question. The next question. Charities were one source of help for poor people. Charities were one source of help for poor people. Is this true or false? True or false? Charities were one source of help for poor people. So this is definitely in the text. Is it true or is it false? True, very good. So we have here that poorer members of society got help from charities or local authorities. So charities was one of the sources that poor people had. Very good. Okay, let's look at the next question. Okay, local authorities made poor people's lives difficult. Local authorities made poor people's lives difficult. True or false? False. We had already established that local authorities was another option. Yes, local authorities was another option where the poor people got money from. So they did not make life difficult, they actually made it better. Okay, next question. Okay, so now here we have multiple choice question. David Lloyd George's suggested system of welfare. Okay, we have 4 options. What is the right answer? Took a long time to become a reality. As we had seen before, that it took 37 years. It took 37 years for this to become a reality. The other answers was provided free for everyone. That's not true. Was unsuccessful at first. No, it took 37 years, but when they started, they don't say if it was successful or not. Led to an increase in unemployment. We had already decided that was not an option. Okay, so we need to understand synonyms when we are looking at these type of questions. As I said, you will not find the exact word in the question and the exact word in the text. So we need to start understanding synonyms and keywords in the reading. So here we have another text. This text is about Oxfam. So we have some questions. What does Oxfam aim to combat today? So combat, we need to find what is the word in the reading that gives us that information. What is the word in the reading that has a similar meaning to combat? Okay, so let's just give you 2 seconds to think what could be the word. Look at the text and what could be a similar word. If anybody wants to answer this in the chat, it's okay. What is the word or expression that is similar in meaning to combat? Okay, so here is the expression, fight against. Yes, So now, if we can establish what is the synonym or the similar expression, we can very easily get the answer. So the answer is poverty, right? Okay, so let's look at the second one. What problem did Greek people face in 1942? Yes? What problem did Greek people face in 1942? So where can we see the problem? So when we see, we can find synonyms or we can find opposite expressions to find the right answer. So in this case, we find the word relief. So you, and we have here suffering, serious, yes? So what problem did Greek people face in 1942? So we see that in 1942, Greece were suffering serious, so here we have economic hardship or economic problems. Okay, question number 3. What did Oxfam try to do? So in this case, try to do. We need to find the equivalent in the text or a similar expression that can give us the answer to this question. What did Oxfam try to do? Okay, so campaign. So why do you campaign? Campaign is when you want people to recycle, you make a campaign and say recycling is good. So what did Oxfam try to do? So they campaigned, and they campaigned for what? They campaigned. What did they try to do, or what do they try to get? They campaigned for what? For food, very good. They campaigned to get food, right? To get food, very good. Okay, now, number 4. When did Oxfam reform as Oxfam International? So now we are going to find, so we need to find reform. So what could be a synonym of reform? In the reading, what could be a synonym of reform? Okay, grew, but grew could be like expand, but reform is when you change things, probably to make them better. Okay, became is a little closer, but became is like you turn into, but we're talking about reform. Reform. So in the text, what could be a synonym of reform? Developing, we're still growing. They grew a lot, yes, but there is one keyword. We have to be able to find this keyword in order to find the correct answer. Okay, so the keyword is reorganized. So reorganized is a synonym of reform. So when did Oxfam reform as Oxfam International? Yes, very good, Andres, is reorganized. They reorganized or they reformed in 1955. Okay, so what did they hope to improve? So we have the word improve. What could be a synonym of improve in the reading? Okay, better, yes. So we have here, the word is enable better. That would be the complete expression. Enable better, yes. International cooperation. Yes, what did they hope to improve? They hope to improve international cooperation. Okay, very good. So it's important that you start establishing the connection between the keywords and the text, questions and answers. Remember, if it's too obvious, if it's exactly the same word, you have to check twice because this could be a trick. Okay, so now we are going to complete our quiz. So we are going to have 2 multiple choice questions for this reading. Okay, so next question. Before the introduction of the welfare system, sorry, this is from the last reading. Okay, before the introduction of the welfare system, local authorities. Okay, let's see from the first reading that we did. Okay, we got one answer. Okay, they were involved in helping poor people. There were local authorities and charities that were involved in helping poor people. Okay, now the questions about this second text. Why was Oxfam first formed? Okay, to help people suffering in Greece. That was the original idea. They didn't want to protest against the government. The original was to help the poor people, the people suffering in Greece. Okay, next question. The organization was reformed in 1955 so that it could, we already discussed that part of the reading, to work better in a global context. That's the right answer. Okay, so here we have a winner. We have Andres, Teresa, and Hector. So for the winner today, we have a special prize that I'm going to show you. We have a special prize, and is that you're going to have access to our professional English platform. If you are interested in learning more vocabulary about Ielts, we have an excellent section on idioms that will help you expand your vocabulary, and we also have one section for advanced vocabulary that will help you in reading and listening comprehension. This app has the possibility to exercise your 4 skills. And you can use this. I am going to give you our email. So you send us an email and we will give you the user, password, and all the instructions on how to use it. If you want to send us an email, tell us that you participated in our webinar and you were the winner. We have here your name recorded here, and we will have some other webinars on IELTS. We also have upcoming webinars in business English, how to make presentations, how to write emails. So you will be able to learn more about these topics. You can connect. It's free for everyone. So if you want to tell your friends, this will be very, very useful for them. Okay. In our platform, you will be able to learn vocabulary. It also has a pronunciation tab that will help you improve on the pronunciation of a specific vocabulary and expand your vocabulary in different areas. Okay, well, anybody has any other questions about the webinar, anything that you would like to know? We'll be happy to answer. If there are any topics that you would like to see in our webinars, you can also send us a message here, or you can go into our webpage, www.gold.com.co, and you can give us some suggestions for future webinars. The idea is to help people learn a specific concepts and specific areas for free. So you will be welcome here in all our webinars and our conversation clubs. We do the webinars once a week. We will be sending you different invitations to tell you when the webinars are. Normally we have one on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. and we will continue to have the other one Fridays 10 a.m. We have webinars on Ielts for writing strategies, more reading comprehension strategies, speaking. We have business English. We have making presentations, writing emails. Okay, so Andres, please remember to send us a message, so we will send you the instructions to access your platform, and I look forward to seeing you in our next webinar. Have a wonderful day. I hope this was very useful for all of you. Bye-bye and have a great day.